There we go. I'm here to give a fair and balanced view of anti-vaxxers because there's been some stuff in the media lately about apparently anti-vaccine crap has really gotten. Hold on one second. Has really gotten very out of control, and people are going off the deep end with it. And of course, the counter argument is, um, you should vaccinate your children at all costs, and how basically, oh come on, it doesn't cause autism and all that. Which there is something to be said about that. I think. Look, I have a sibling with autism. I think if you think that vaccinations cause autism, you're a moron. Okay? I can guarantee you my brother did not get autism from vaccinations. That's asinine. It's okay. Let's look at this. I'm trying to think of how to formulate this because both sides are kind of terrible. Because you have one side who's like, you shouldn't vaccinate who's saying you shouldn't vaccinate your kids. You should absolutely vaccinate your kids because it's literally life or death in a lot of situations. Not so much in the first world anymore. I mean, technically, you could survive without without being vaccinated in the first world. That is possible. Okay, I mean, I've had times where I haven't gotten my flu shot and stuff. I mean, this year I haven't gotten it. I haven't gotten the flu once, and I still don't have my flu shot. But I also know that the area I live in right now, is it's very low for the flu, and it's okay. I think I'll be fine. I know my risk factors. I've actually looked into it. If the risk was much higher in my area, I would probably go down to the doctor's office right now and get it. I probably would already have it. But seeing as how it's not really that big of a problem right in this region, it's okay. And it's not a bad flu year right now. Also, the flu doesn't really kill a lot of people. I think they say on average it kills 12 people a year. Usually the people it kills are older people, the elderly, because they have lower immune systems, tend to have more health problems, and a lot of them don't know, because they have so many health problems already, they don't notice anything new a lot of times, so they go too long without treatment. However, generally speaking, the average person, if they get the flu, they're sick for a few days. They're sick for what? 2 days, 3 days. They take some Robitussin or some Mucinex and maybe a painkiller if they're causing them stomach pain, or if they puke, they take like a Zantac, right? And that's it. It's over. They might throw up, they might have a sinus infection or upper respiratory thing. Sometimes they have to go to the hospital. It's usually a pretty minor thing. And that's kind of what we're looking at today. A lot of people are like, oh, you got people on the anti-vax side who are like, it causes autism. It does not cause autism. And then you got people on the complete opposite extreme who are like, there's nothing wrong with vaccines. And both views are wrong. Both are wrong. There is a lot of problems with vaccinations. It's because it's a strong, concentrated solution going into your body. Of course, there's going to be some issues with it. And I think most people don't deny that. Most people are more educated on this nowadays. They understand, oh yeah, there is some issues with vaccines. And there's vaccines you don't need in a typical first world country. Like you don't need the typhoid or the polio vaccine because you live in America. You live in a first world country. But there's another there's a I understand why a lot of people on the other side are on the anti-vax side are freaking out. And I also understand why a lot of people are on the other side like you're crazy. But here's the thing. Truth of the matter is you got to take a clear and a balanced approach to vaccines. The fact that there's such a big anti-vax movement right now that's actually growing shows that the pro-vax side has not been listening, has not been trying to even reach across the aisle. And it's a shame, but it's true. Oh, you're just a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. And they do have a point, because a lot of people on the anti-vax side are a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. But also, a lot of them aren't. And yes, I know some of this has been perpetuated by Hollywood celebrities who are like, I'm not giving my kids the serums. And that's wrong. They're clearly just doing it for political purposes. They're trying to push an agenda. They have an anti-human agenda in Hollywood anyway. You know, according to some Hollywood celebrities, we're all going to drown in a couple years anyway, so what's the point? Like, that's literally how they see the world. So there's no point in even trusting in those people, yet our society still finds it appealing to look at a celebrity who's probably bulimic and takes steroids, right? The people who are like the most dysfunctional people in our society, who can't seem to figure out their own identities. And we look at those people and we go, "Yep, we're gonna look after it. We're gonna follow in their footsteps." It's like these are people who are so irresponsible, but because they have money, they can afford to get themselves out of a tight fix. Don't trust them. But the other extreme, the opposite of the anti-vax, the other extreme is not really good either. Obviously, I want to be vaccinated. I think that let's give the anti-vaxxers the benefit of the doubt, and let's say that they do cause autism. Well, would you rather your kid have autism or be dead? That's your choices. And then people start getting into the argument, well, actually it makes you sick, which is also garbage. A lot of times when people get sick right after they've been vaccinated, it's not because they were vaccinated, it's because they already caught something, and then the vaccine hasn't worked yet. It takes a while, like 24 to 48 hours or something like that. Or I think 24 to 72 actually. It takes some time to work and get into your system and beef up your immune system. You know, your body has to take the dead virus in, recognize what it is, and then go, oh, I gotta fight this. Right? So that takes time. Your body doesn't do that the second you get the vaccine. So let's say you get sick the day after you get vaccinated. People go, it's because of the vaccine. No, it's not. It's because you were already sick. You just hadn't felt the symptoms yet. You had already had the virus in you. It's ridiculously. And people just reject that science, pretend like it doesn't exist. And I don't like that. But there's always two sides to an argument. There's a reason those people believe what they believe, and it's because people on the other side, you have the pro-vax movement, which I would consider myself a part of. I'm not really I don't like that term. I'm just pro-life. I just want to live. You know, I just want anything that doesn't hurt humans. So anything is the best option. So like a vaccine is the best option. It's not perfect, but that's the issue. Is that you got the other side is like it is perfect and there is nothing wrong with it and you don't get sick from it, which you don't. That's true. And there's no downsides to it, but there is. By the way, when I said you don't get sick from it, I was talking about the flu. I wasn't talking about all. I know that like typhoid and things like that do in fact make you sick, and that's because typhoid is a much stronger disease. It is a much worse. The flu's nothing compared to typhoid. You get My dad's had the typhoid vaccine. He had to get it because he was in the Navy, and he got sick. And he said it was the sickest he's ever been in his life. And it was because with that vaccination, they give you a live culture. They don't give you the dead stuff. They have to give you the live culture, and it's much because I don't know. The disease is so much more death concentrated into such a small area. Just the virus, like typhoid's a really, really, really bad virus. Much worse than the flu. So even a little portion of it, I guess the density of death, if you will. I know that's not a very scientific term, but the density of death in typhoid is much higher than with the flu. So see, there you go. There's a vaccine that would make you sick, but it makes you sick because it's protecting you from dying. It's like, here's your choices. You get typhoid for real and you die, you puke up blood, or you get the culture in a little shot and you're sick for, I don't know, 5 or 6 days, maybe a week. The world's spinning for at least a couple days, Like literally it makes you dizzy, it throws off your whole equilibrium, you're puking, you're just you're coughing, everything is just, it feels like your whole body's draining. I don't know, I'm just saying what I've heard. My dad's had it, he told me about it, said it was awful. He said he's never been anywhere close to that sick, ever in his life. But here's the upside. He'll never get typhoid again. Ever. Never. If he were to go to Africa right now, if he were to go to Congo, he wouldn't catch typhoid. He wouldn't get it. He would survive. So clearly, and he's going overseas, so he might be exposed to it. That's why they gave it to him. He went to Africa. He didn't actually go on the coast, but he's seen Africa. He's seen the Congo spill into the Atlantic. He's actually seen it. He's seen the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's funny. It's very similar to the People's Republic of China. I'm not going to get into why the Congo is not a republic at all, but that's for another time. There are issues with vaccinations, though, but it's not perfect. Most rational people don't go, they're perfect. Like, no one's like, yeah. Obviously there's flaws, and I think maybe giving a baby every single shot all at once in a very short period of time, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that could mess them up a little bit. I don't think it's going to cause autism or anything ridiculous like that, but it could have some health effects, and doctors have said so. I'm not just making this up. Just space it out. Your baby's not going to die. It's not going to be exposed to some crazy disease in a first world country. Okay? Um, just space it out. Space it out over the first year, right? Okay, you want to give your you definitely want to give your kid vaccines. You definitely want to, but just space it out, and don't give them every single drug known to man. You got these people on the other side who are like, oh, and this is the point I wanted to get to. I know I kind of took a long time to get to it. But we live in a culture today where drugs are everything. Drugs are great. Everyone has depression. Everyone has anxiety. Everyone has PTSD. Doesn't matter if they've ever been through an actual traumatic event. I'm messed up. I've had people tell me that. And I know they're full of crap. I know their doctor is just using them for money. Doctors make more money when they give you more drugs. Okay? The FDA gives them a check. The drug companies give them a check. Like, the government, ever since the government really got into healthcare, which was 1960s, 1970s, ever since that happened, people have been just abusing drugs, prescription drugs. Most of the opioid epidemic is not people shooting up under bridges. It's a regular middle class family, people in their kitchen just taking oxy every day before they go to work. You see people getting fired from their jobs because they're high on oxy. They can't hear. Like, if you think that's from excuse me, if you think that is from us, if that is from people being anti-vax or something, you're crazy. So there's a point. They do have a point. I'm not saying they're right. They're clearly wrong. If you don't give your kid vaccinations, there's a good chance they'll die. I'm not denying that. Now, in a first world country, it's not nearly as high as some people exaggerate it and say it is to be. There is a point to be made. You can survive without vaccines. When I was a kid, my mom went a little bit off the rails for a little while. Jenny McCarthy is the woman. I think that's the woman. Yeah, she read that woman's book for a little while. My mom went a little anti-vax for a couple years. And then she realized, oh, that's kind of stupid. Also, my kids need vaccines to stay in school. And so for a couple years, I went without my tetanus. You're supposed to get your tetanus shot every 10 years. I got one when I was a baby. And I didn't get another one until I was 12. Which means I had a 2-year period where I did not have a tetanus shot. I could have gotten infected. I could have gotten a really bad infection. They would have had to cut it out. Like, it would have been nice. And it was a good thing I got the infection. I got the tetanus shot the day I did, because later on that day, I handed a peanut to a squirrel and it scratched me with its claw when it swiped the peanut out of my hand. That very day, like 3 hours after I went to the doctor's office. And my mom said, well, it's a good thing you got your tetanus. It's just a little scratch. I was like, ow. It ran back up the tree. I'm going to move this thing. Hopefully the phone won't fall. Okay, yeah. This is kind of going to be more long form, this video. But it's a very interesting conversation to have. Because no one on either side of the conversation wants to listen to one another. Too many drugs in society is bad. I know people. I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to do that. But I know people who say they have all these problems, but do they really? People. You got people on the anti-vax side who are like, well, we didn't used to have autism all over the place. I'm like, well, that's a good point. However, here's why. There's a reason why. And it leads to a larger point. It's like flat earthers. Flat earthers are like, oh, the earth is flat and it's just a big dome. Clearly untrue. It's surrounded by a wall of ice. Well, you show me pictures of a giant wall of ice surrounding the earth, a 200-foot high wall of ice. That's literally what they believe. You can't find one. You can't find them. You can find glaciers. You can find ice sheets. Can you find me a 200-foot wall of ice that surrounds the earth? Can you find me a big dome? You can't do it. However, they do have a point. It is actually kind of hard to disprove flat earth theory. But that's because it's a negative. You can't disprove a negative. Like it's a retarded concept. That's why we have innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent, because you can't prove a negative. So you look at that argument and you go, oh, well, obviously that's not based in science. The geocentric model is stupid, but people believe in it. But what is the bigger issue though? NASA has lied about some things, or they've been wrong about things, or they're focused on the wrong things. Yeah, that's happened. Sure. You're telling me NASA, a big giant institution, a government organization, is corrupt? No way! That's what that stems from. So instead of looking at the issue and going, oh, these people are freaking retarded, you have to look at why they believe what they believe, where the issue stems from. The issue with flat Earth stems from distrust in NASA, which, again, NASA has lied. They've manipulated satellite data. They've done some iffy things. I'm not saying that everything they've done is a lie, and I'm not saying that the Earth is flat. It's round. I believe in the heliocentric model. It's the same thing with vaccines. They have a point when it stems from a larger problem of corporations who are obviously tied in with the Fed, with the FDA and the CDC and big government organizations are pushing drugs. It's obvious they're pushing drugs. The anti-vaxxers take issue with the drug and they miss the bigger idea, which is not the fact that there's an issue with vaccines necessarily. There's an issue with drug use overall. And so when you understand why they have that view, like where it sort of stems from, you realize, oh, yeah, they're wrong, but they have a point. Like, yes, they're missing the big idea. They understand that our society has become filled with drug usage everywhere. Everyone's justifying getting a prescription now. Doctors are overprescribing drugs. People are getting overdiagnosed with ADHD and autism. I mean, if you're a weird, why do you think a disproportionate amount of boys are diagnosed with autism and ADHD? A much larger percentage of boys. It's insane. I think for every one girl diagnosed with autism, something like 20 boys, or some insane number. You're telling me that genetics doesn't affect women? No, it does. You're telling me that there's less autistic girls out there? No, it's young boys are more rambunctious, they act more weird. And in our current society, that's seen as bad because we've demasculinized the culture. That's ultimately what all this stems from. Is a ratcheting down of masculinity, a decreasing of masculinity, and an increasing trend towards femininity. So you're seeing the results of that. We need to have a balanced society where there's an equal amount of masculinity and an equal amount of femininity. And no, it's not going to ever be perfectly equal. It's always going to be going back and forth. But it should be kind of in that cycle. And there's a reason that we have gender roles. And there's a reason that we have, there's a reason that more men, even now, with, post third wave, well, I guess technically we're still in the third wave. Now they're saying fourth wave, feminine, whatever. Technically, yeah, it is fourth wave because now they're getting into there's a divide with the feminists between trans and women who are like, no, we're real women, So, okay, now we're post third wave feminism. We're in the fourth wave, and are women more equal? By what metric? Money? Okay. Power? Okay. What about happiness? They've actually done studies on this. And the best way to measure happiness is to just ask people, are you happy? And they've done studies on this, and it's shown that women are actually less happy with their lives right now. And so are men. The suicide rate is up both with men and women. Way up with men. I mean, it's always higher with men, but it's like the gap is widened between the male and the female suicide rate. That's ultimately what all this comes down to. Is we've lost our way. We've lost our strength and our strong masculine figures that lead us. And thus we've become weak, so now we depend on drugs. If you question drugs, people are like, oh, no. Everyone wants to legalize all the illegal drugs. And I'm still iffy on that. I certainly think that there should be reduction in sentencing and things like that. But it's really, you gotta kind of wonder, are they right on this? Like, you got the libertarians, right? Who are on my side of the aisle. And they're like, yeah, we should just, people get drugs. There's nothing you can do about that. I'm like, maybe there is. Maybe you could, build a border wall and stop 80% of the drugs coming in. Oh, they'll still get in. Yes, because they'll be flying them over the border wall with drones, and those drones will just sail right over. They won't get shot down enough. It's stupid. Or I love it when people use the argument, drugs still get into federal prisons. Okay, well, what's the drug usage rate in a federal prison compared to outside of a federal prison? It's probably still way lower. That doesn't prove anything. That's the point. And yeah, it does ultimately come down to a personal decision. I just don't know if giving people more access is necessarily the best idea. People talk about Portugal and look what they did. Yeah, but they subsidized it. And I can get to the argument why, over why that's not exactly what you would want, because, yeah, the government's pouring how much money have they poured into that? But that's a good, we can argue about what we should do about the war on drugs all day. I certainly think there should be reform. I think we're all on board with there should be a loosening. It's gotten out of hand. The 3-strike rule has killed Black and Hispanic families. Like, it's clearly not working. But you have to ask yourself, are we encouraging this? Could it be that our government, our health system maybe is corrupt? Here's the thing. If you got kids, don't refrain from vaccinating them. But know the risks. Educate yourself. Teach them as best you can to be strong and to not depend on drugs. And maybe don't give them vaccines all at once. That's all. You do that, be fine. If you raise your kid right, you raise them good. You got to do it within the first 10 years. You really got to stick it in there. You got to really instill some good values in them in the first decade of their life. Because if you don't, bad things are going to happen. You do that, they won't get addicted to drugs. They won't go around, frogging everyone under the sun. They'll be successful. They'll probably graduate high school. They'll probably get married, and they'll probably have a job that they like. And that's all. That's all anyone needs. It's just to be able to provide for their family and to have a decent life and to enjoy it. We've gone so far in this nation, and this is what the vaccine debate is really about. It's just a symptom. It's a distraction. Oh, let's get distracted on this. And let's not talk about fentanyl and the opioids in the nursing homes. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about people not wanting to deal with their problems. And I literally saw a commercial a couple weeks ago that was basically just fronting depression as if it was like this trivial thing. I was like, the woman it wasn't like these commercials where you're like, there's tears and stuff. No, it's just like one of those regular commercials where she's just like, she's just sitting there like, like she's bored. Like, I'm bored. Do you have depression? It's like, that's not depression. That's boredom. If you're bored, do something. Go outside. Read a book. Go for a hike. Chop some wood. I don't know. Move out of the city. If you're bored, find something to do. Watch videos. Or you can just be bored. You don't need a drug. And that's really the bottom line of this, is that people don't want to take responsibility anymore. So they'll place it on a drug. That's where this problem comes from. That's why this debate has come about. It's the same thing with like the flat earth versus the round earth. It's like, look, the earth is round, get over it. I mean, you can see it in your toilet bowl with the Coriolis effect. And look, I know, oh, well, you can't definitively prove this. Well, you can't definitively prove anything. Like, that's such a dumb argument. What do you mean by... Well, you're starting to sound like Jordan Peterson now. Yeah, I'm calling him out too. What do you mean by what do you mean by? It's dumb. That's semantics. Enough of the semantics. The real debate is not flat earth versus round earth. It's whether or not our government is lying to us about, who knows, maybe they're lying to us about certain things in outer space. Maybe they're lying to us about, the climate data on the satellites. They could very well be doing that. If you trust them just blindly, you're an idiot. There's been plenty of lies. And instead of focusing on the real issue, we get distracted by the side things. That's what they want. Don't fall for it. So that's my message to both anti-vaxxers and to pro-vaxxers and to the rest of us who are rational about this. This is also for you. I've also made this for you. Now for the rest of us who are kind of in the middle, now you understand why that argument is taking place. And protect your kids. Don't don't let them get polio or whooping cough because you're an idiot.